Officially live, so I turn it to you, Justice Lerman, to kick us off.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I really appreciate that. And welcome everyone to our final meeting of 2022. And it's been such a successful year, I think, a challenging year. And we've all gotten through it. I think that we've done some really, really good things for the most vulnerable Texans amongst us. So thank you all for all of your hard work and for being here today. As you know, we are meeting virtually every other meeting. And so this is going to be a virtual meeting. And we're primarily here to thank our outgoing commissioners for all the wonderful work that they've done, worked so hard for so many years. It's certainly not goodbye, it's just so long. And to welcome our new members who have so much to contribute. And we really look forward to all of your input over the next let me just give you a few housekeeping matters that I need to go over. First of all, this meeting is being recorded and it's streamlined via YouTube. So while it's in progress, please check to be sure that you're on mute unless you're talking. We won't be taking any breaks today, but that certainly doesn't mean that you can't excuse yourself to get some coffee or to go to the restroom or whatever you need to do. But when you do so, if you could please just turn off the camera function, that will help us. Not to just have empty screens there. Today's notebook was shared last week by email, and it's also available on the Children's Commission's website. Please note that since we met so recently, just on September 30th, there are no updates to the Children's Commission report. In other words, this is really not a substantive meeting to the extent that they usually are. So thank you so much for making this meeting as seamless as possible. More importantly, thank you so much for your dedication to the well-being of children across our state. The mission of this commission is so very important. I don't think there's anything more important that can happen in this state or any state for that matter than the work that this commission strives to accomplish and to better things for all Texans and certainly our vulnerable children. And with that, I want to hand it over to my wonderful, lovely colleague, Justice Rebecca Huddle.
Thank you, Justice Lerman. Good morning to everyone. It's a great way to start a Friday, seeing familiar faces. Time has flown since our last meeting, but it's actually been over a month since we were together in Austin. I want to thank everyone for engaging in what I thought was really meaningful, rich, deep conversation at that meeting. After the meeting, the staff have memorialized the conversation and developments at the meeting, and the minutes of that meeting have been distributed with the packet. They are behind tab 2 of the packet, and if you're following on the PDF, it's page 13. Those were distributed last week. I hope everyone has had a minute to review the minutes. And I'm wondering, I would like to get them approved. So I'm wondering, is there a motion out there? Or sorry, before I move to motion, is there any discussion or question about the minutes? Anyone? All right. Do I have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. With that, the minutes of the September 30th meeting are adopted and approved. All right, the next item for me on the agenda is really a fun opportunity. I have the privilege of both thanking outgoing commission members and welcoming aboard some new ones, and so that is a delight. I want to invite you to look at tab 1 in the meeting packet, and this is page 9 in the PDF if you're following along electronically. What this is just a visual helpful chart of the membership that includes commission, committee, and collaborative council membership, and it's a handy tool to just remember who everyone is who's involved in the group. Today, as I said, it's my pleasure to welcome our two incoming commissioners. This is the fun part of the meeting. First, let me start with Chantel Bedlington. Good morning. Hello, Chantel. I hope you can find her on your screen. She is in a magenta top, it seems to me. And so Chantel is the supervisor of the Kinship Navigator Program at ACH Child and Family Services in the Tarrant County area. Ms. Bedlington has lived experience as a kinship caregiver on top of that. In her capacity with ACH, Ms. Bedlington connects kinship families with education, services, and support, which is critical to maintain these placements and hopefully over time develop positive permanency pathways for the kids in foster care. Chantel, we are delighted and fortunate to have your insights and perspective to help make the Commission's conversations even more robust and rich. With that, I want to extend my wholehearted welcome on behalf of everyone here and ask you to spend a minute introducing yourself and telling us about who you are.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm really excited to be here. I, like you said, have been a kinship caregiver for several years. I was a caregiver of my niece and nephew. And so we walked that process. And then being a part of this pilot program with the state, the Kinship Navigator Program, that is being piloted, working with kinship caregivers regularly, I am seeing the struggles that kinship caregivers face and the struggles that I faced. And so I am excited to get to be a kinship voice here with this group, because I do think that there are a lot of solutions to be had with kinship caregiving. So excited to lend that voice to this group and excited to be here. I'm a mom of three besides the two kinship children. I'm an adoptive mom as well. And so adding this to my plate, and I'm excited to do it.
Well, thank you. We're thrilled to have you, and we look forward to getting to know you and just hearing your insights and about your experience and expertise. Next, honored to introduce Judge Isaac Roldan, who appears to be on the road somewhere. It's a mystery where he's headed. I'm Judge Roldan is a tribal court judge for Isleta del Sur Pueblo tribe in El Paso. I'm especially delighted to introduce another El Pasoan. I'm a native El Pasoan, Judge Roldan, and so I'm sort of curious to see where you are in your car. Judge Roldan handles cases involving the Peace Code, and he was also tasked with establishing a drug court. In addition to all of that, the judge has extensive experience in law enforcement with the El Paso Police, the Tribal Police, and the U.S. Border Patrol. Judge Roldan, we want to thank you for your willingness and your also busy schedule to serve with us on the Children's Commission and share your expertise with us. So welcome to you from the bottom of our hearts, and take a few moments, if you would, to tell us a little about yourself.
Well, good morning. Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Since I am on the road and
we can hear you great. We can.
Okay, so it's funny that you asked where I'm at, because like you said, I do have law enforcement experience, and I currently, aside from the appointed judge position, I work for the Border Patrol, and we're on a road trip, and we're actually about to hit a checkpoint. So if I get asked for my citizenship, we might take a small break just because we're at the checkpoint right now. But yes, I've been appointed for the last, well, like you said, a little bit about myself. I've been in law enforcement for 13 years now, starting with tribal police, and then I moved on to the U.S. Border Patrol. They didn't check our immigration stuff. And it's been a roller coaster ride. I am also a enrolled tribal member with Isleta del Sur Pueblo. So for me, I've come full circle with being able to provide back to the community within my community. And I do live on the reservation. So in El Paso, you're a native, I'm sure you've heard of our tribe. And so yes, I am tasked with the drug court. The established drug court. I was fortunate enough to work with one of the local district judges, but we had an issue with during COVID, so that got put on pause. Recently, we started working with the unification of children and their parents that lost them at some point for not so good reasons. And I was invited to join your commission, and I'm just like a sponge right now, ready to learn and see what this is all about.
Wonderful. Well, we are delighted to have you with us. And we look forward to your insights, Judge, and as I say, to Chantel Bedlington's contributions. We know they'll be substantial. There are 2 changes to committee or collaborative council membership I want to highlight. First, Jordan Watson has joined the Systems Improvement Committee. Ms. Watson is Vice President of Policy and Government Affairs at Tex Protects, which is always a mouthful for me, Tex Protects. Please join me in sharing a welcome to Ms. Watson. Knox Kimberly, second, has decided to roll off the Collaborative Council after many years of service. We wish Mr. Kimberly the best in his role as interim CEO at Tex Protects. With that, those welcomes and thank yous, I'll turn it back over to Justice Lehrman.
Thank you so much, Justice Huddle, and welcome aboard. I think that you all are going to give so much to the commission with your expertise and your unique hands-on experience in your individual roles. So thank you very much for volunteering your very, very valuable time. I can tell from the brief amount that I know about you thus far that you've got your hands full. So thank you so much for giving back in this very, very important way. We all really appreciate it. And having said that, I want to express our sincere appreciation to our outgoing members who have done so much, who have worked so hard for all these years, really giving everything they have to this very, very important mission that we all are on, which, as we all know, is to protect those children who find themselves in the CPS system. So thank you very much for willing to step up. For willing to have stepped up all these years and given so very much. Unfortunately, we have term limits, and so we have to say goodbye at this time. But again, it's not goodbye; it's simply farewell, because we certainly know that you all are going to continue to be active in this area of the law and continue to be resources for us to tap into for various things that we'll need over the years. So thank you all for all of that. So I would like for everybody to please join me in recognizing our outgoing commissioners. And we'll start with Paula Bibbs Samuels. Paula, can you raise your hand? There we go. There's Paula. Judge Gary Coley. There you go. Judge Randall Huffstedler, and Judge Frank Wren. So thank you all again. We just all are just so very thankful for all of you. You've done so much. And like I say, please stay in touch and don't leave and not give us your forwarding address. As a parting request, we have asked them to reflect on the following question, and that is, what do you value most about the Children's Commission? What was your favorite part of serving on the commission? And where do you hope to see the commission in 10 years? If you had a crystal, not a crystal ball, a magic wand, and you could have anything you wanted.
Are we going in any particular order? Are we going in any particular order?
Well, I think you should go first, Paula.
Yeah. First of all, you changed that last question a little bit about if we had a magic wand, because see, that's different. Because then we would not need a children's commission.
True.
Just
true.
yes. But I'll start with the first question. What do I value most about my time spent here? And I put, because I had to write it down because y'all know I can talk, right? We know this. But I said that it was the collective work of everybody, both community professional and those with lived experience, to make Texas a better and safer place for children and families. Y'all see how diplomatic I can be? But that's actually honestly what I valued the most, because honestly, just working with you all, seeing the work, everybody having a common goal and literally working toward that goal was something that I will forever take with me. And I thank you for the opportunity for that question. And then I'm going to go on mute so other people can talk.
Don't you want to answer the other two questions?
Oh, I didn't know if we was going to do around
Yeah,
the clock
no,
thing.
just
Okay.
go ahead and do your three and we'll go individually. Yeah. So
Okay.
you're the star now.
Oh, don't do that. Anyway, so I love that. No, just kidding. So what was my favorite part of my time? Honestly, that was being heard, seen, and also being productive, because I'm one of those people, I hate to just have meetings. But we were able to see with every meeting the progress that was being made, but also being seen and heard not only as a person with lived experience, but as somebody who had an area of expertise. You all never made me feel less than. And so that was something that was very, very great, because when I came on, the whole entire world, lived experience, I mean, you had issues and problems or what have you. But with this group, you all, I felt, and I still feel this way, that you all actually valued my input, valued my opinions, and valued my expertise, not as a slap on the wrist. She has a scar or a marked skin, but more so because of her experience, she is now expert in this area. So thank you for that. And then obviously, what do I hope to see the Children's Commission in 10 years? Obviously, if I had the wand, we wouldn't need it. But because I don't have a wand, I say I want to see you all still going hard. By the way, going hard means, because I can speak in slang, still going hard, still fighting extensively after the goal of family first, but not family first, the act, but family first in action. So those are my goals.
Thank you so much. I hope that you know that we all really do value what you've brought to the commission. We need that kind of advice, expertise, hands-on knowledge about what's really going on. It's one thing when you can look at it from a judge's perspective on a one side of a bench, and we certainly try to get into the world as much as we can, but we're limited for obvious reasons. And so we really, really appreciate your input. It's been wonderful. Its expertise is invaluable. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all so much. And I would like for you all to consider our terms as in the president's terms, 4 years each, but we won't get into that. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Okay, Judge Coley, you're on.
The value I found in the Children's Commission really has evolved. When I first got on the bench in 2009, the Children's Commission was still pretty new, and the opportunity to have CLE and education coming from a county like McLennan County, where there was one judge that did the child welfare work, was really valuable to get that exposure. And then over time, it sort of morphed into having an opportunity to exchange ideas and approaches to how you handle the work. And ultimately, it just sort of landed on the camaraderie and relationships amongst everybody that's involved with the Children's Commission, whether you're a commissioner, whether you just participate in the work in some other way. I think all the judges would agree that one of the dirty secrets about our jobs is how terribly isolating these jobs are. You're alone a lot. And certainly if you're in a larger county, there are other judges that do child welfare work. But if you're in a mid-sized or smaller county, you're really siloed, and you don't have an opportunity to work with other judges doing this work, much less share ideas and thoughts and approaches on how to improve in doing this work in your jurisdiction. And that the benefit in that really you can't put a price on that. Couldn't express how valuable that is, and the friendships and relationships that can grow out of just attending conferences that the Children's Commission supports, not to mention being in work groups and committees, and how valuable that is. And so all of that, I think, has really strengthened the child welfare system in our state. I think it's improved the lives for our children and families in the child welfare system as we try to create some consistency around the state. And it's just been a great experience for me. I can't thank the Supreme Court enough, Justice Guzman and Justice Lehrman and Justice Huddle, for the opportunity to work with all three of y'all. And the Children's Commission staff, can't say enough great things about you guys. Y'all are fantastic. Love all of y'all. I appreciate you guys tolerating me and my nonsense from time to time. And certainly Tina and Jamie, and letting me hang out with you guys. It's been a great experience, and the work you do means so much to children and families in our state. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much, Judge, for that. We so appreciate your wonderful work over these years, and it's been invaluable, and certainly bringing that perspective of a mid to smaller area and expressing the concerns and the needs, which of course is very, very important, because so much of what we deal with are in the really huge cities. And so thank you so much for that. We so appreciate it. Okay, Judge Hustveler.
I would echo what both Paula and Judge Coley have said. As a judge in a smaller county, I understand that loneliness and that silo. That's a great way to describe it, Judge Coley. And the thing I value most about my time with the commission has been the shared experiences that people bring, the ability to listen to all perspectives. I think that collaborative, I'm not a real fan of the collaborative word. I think it's overused a lot, but in this situation, the collaboration that we have is absolutely one of the best things about the commission. And it's not overused with regard to the commission because of the varying numbers of people, the experiences, and the life experiences that everyone brings. That's the thing I think that's just been tremendous. My favorite part of the commission actually changed last week because of the child welfare conference and the opportunity that I had to go to that conference and to listen to those three incredible young adults who shared their experiences of walking through foster care and where they are today and the challenges that they have met along the way and continue to have. And that to me, that part of the conference needs to go on the road to 254 counties around the state. That was, to me, an incredible opportunity to listen. And as Paula has done through the years that she's been here, giving her shared experience, got the opportunity to listen to those three young adults, and that's just incredible. I have a passion for what I do here, but what I have really enjoyed, what was going to be my favorite part until I got to listen to those three folks last week, what was going to be my favorite part is to see the passion that every one of you brings to your role. All of them are different, and all the roles are different, all the people are different, and just to see the passion, I think it's really, truly a calling, because you wouldn't be here and you wouldn't put in the time that you have to this organization. And that is, I guess, would be my second favorite part. I agree, Paula, with what you said with regard to if we could wave that magic wand, we wouldn't have the Children's Commission. And in 10 years, that would mean that the legislature figured out that they needed to fund mental health issues, that they needed to fund child protective issues, that they needed to fund the future. And you can't just throw money at it. You have to have organization to that. And even if the legislature decided that we were going to come up from 50 to number one in mental health issues, and I could go on and on and on with mental health issues, but even if they decided to throw a bunch of money to that and create all the things that we need, it still wouldn't be enough if we didn't have people like you guys organizing that and getting out there and determining where to put those monies and where to put those resources. I appreciate Justice Guzman bringing me into the commission, and I've appreciated the leadership, Jamie, that you've given, that Justice Huddle and Justice Lehrman that you've given. And I appreciate Renee, Chelsea, Dylan. I have enjoyed
For the
working with you
conference.
guys. It's just awesome. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm sorry. Something was wrong with my audio. I don't think I was hearing you at the end.
Oh.
But thank you very much for your service over these years. We appreciate it so much. And thank you for your comments about the conference and those three young people who were there. Unfortunately, Justice Huddle and I were not able to stay for all of the conference, and we didn't hear that. And so that just in your last few moments brought something that we probably want to, want to investigate further. So thank you very much for that and for your service, not only on the commission, but on the bench. It's invaluable, and thank you so much. It's wonderful to have people that we know who truly are passionate and understand things like you're saying, that mental health underlies so much of this, as does drug addiction. And those are things that, need to be dealt with. And so thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Judge Wren, last but not least.
Okay, well, thank you. First of all, I want to echo what everybody else said. Our thoughts are all very similar. And I think one of the things I valued most was people from all over the state. And I think, as Judge Hostetler said, their passion, their approach to different things, you could learn so much. I truly valued the people with lived experience. I learned a lot. I'll single out Paula, from her kind of passion and her lived experience. And so I think my favorite part was just seeing people all over the state willing to try new things, and they cared enough to be here to work on things and recognize that perhaps what had been going, while designed by people with the best of intentions, we needed to continue to innovate and look for new things and try new solutions. And my hope for the future, of course, my sincere hope, there'd be no need, but my hope is that this continues to get people with lived experience on the committee, on the commission. I think that's so important, but also that the commission be strong enough to continue listening to new ideas, but also when we've tried things, if they haven't worked, acknowledging that was a great idea, but we need to move on. I think perhaps one of the things I've learned, and I think, is that one size does not fit all. We have to be open to different families, different needs, different approaches. And so that's just my hope for the future, is that we can continue and, again, have people with lived experience, be open to new ideas. And it takes some courage sometimes to acknowledge, well, we tried this, but perhaps it's not as good widespread. But to be open again, we're dealing with families, not with cookies. So the cookie cutter approach doesn't always work. But thank you all very much. Thank Judge Guzman for appointing me and just the opportunity to be on the commission.
Thank you so much, Judge Wren. We appreciate you all so much. So I invite any of you now to share in the praises of these wonderful outgoing commissioners. I know that we would all love to hear more about them from your perspective. So please, if any of you have something that you want to say, or even a funny little story you want to share, we would be so happy to hear from you. So come on, don't be shy. Sandra, did you?
Okay, I'm just going to say I've known Judge Wren for a long time, and I've just appreciated him. He's been involved in trying to improve, I'm sorry, I got a dog right by me, improve our practice of child protection laws for such a long time. And I appreciate his service on the commission, and I hope that he'll keep with us, on our projects and things. So
Thank you. And
thank you so much.
Knowing Judge Wren, I have a feeling he will.
I'll certainly try.
Who else? Well, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say serving with each of these individuals. I remember at early commission meetings talking with Paula and not even knowing that, that experience she had, but getting to talk with her. And we ended up getting in touch with some other parent advocates and things in our area. Just the awareness of the work that she does has been huge. And I can't thank her enough. And it has been helpful even in our area from my opportunity to meet with her, but also getting to know the judges. I mean, as Judge Coley alluded to and Judge Huffstetler both, it is an isolating job sometimes, and having the ability to talk with them has been wonderful, and getting to hear their experiences. And I'm just so thankful to each of the commissioners leaving and rolling off for all of the work and the blood, sweat, and tears they've put into this. So I appreciate y'all and look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you so much for those nice words.
I'll just say, if nobody else is going to jump in, and I'll be brief because I don't want to get emotional on a Zoom call, and I'll write y'all personal notes, but please, accept my profound thanks. And on behalf of everybody who came before me and the rest of the team at the Children's Commission, I can say without question, you've left an indelible imprint on this work. We don't want you to be strangers. We hope you'll stay in touch. We hope you stay plugged into things as you're able. And I just want to say thank you for doing something that I think is very admirable, which is leaving us stronger than you found us, and really using your voice and turning your experience into change for the state. So thank you so much for everything you've done for us.
Anyone else? So I just want to echo those sentiments. Certainly for Paula to be here and never to be shy about expressing your views about what we're missing or we're not missing, and really looking at it from your perspective. It's just been so very, very helpful. So thank you for that. And the judges, I know that you all that are here, I used to hear these kinds of cases myself. And when I would tell people that this was my favorite area of the law, they would look at me like I was crazy. How in this world could that be your favorite area of the law? But you all know what I mean by that. There's just nothing that's more important, more impactful, more meaningful, and more hopeful as far as really being able to make positive change for human beings in a way that their lives can really be changed forever. And you all know that, you live it every single day. Don't get a lot of praise for it, I know, because you sacrifice and how much you give. So thank you all. We really, really appreciate it very, very much. Big shoes to fill. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We truly, truly appreciate it. So with that, like I say, it's not goodbye. It's just so long. And remember, do not forget to forward any address that changes, because we are going to be looking for you. We don't want to be hard to hunt you down, because we certainly need you and appreciate you so very, very much. You're going to get certificates if you haven't already. So it's just a small token of our appreciation. And certainly I wish it could be so much more than that, but hopefully you know how much we value your service. So thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Justice Huddle.
Sorry, is my audio working? Okay, so now I'd like to invite Mena. I haven't seen Mena on screen yet. Mena, and we're a little ahead of schedule. Mena, are you here?
I am here, Judge.
Okay, wonderful. Hi, there you are.
Hi.
Mena, of course, is the general counsel at OCA, and I'd like to invite you, Mena, to give an update on behalf of OCA. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Justice Huddle. Good morning, everybody. Megan Lavoie is really sorry she wasn't able to make it, but she is actually presenting at the court's mental health commission meeting that's going on this morning. And so she asked me to just pop in. I reviewed the minutes to see what she updated you on last time, and not that much has happened since then, but I did just want to bring two things up to your attention. First one is to thank you all, the Children's Commission, so much for your continued support of the Children's Courts program. You all helped us to have a pre-meeting right before the Child Welfare Conference, which we like to have every year with our judges and our court coordinators to kind of focus on items that are specific to their their unique aspect, being the traveling child protection courts. And that was a great success. So thank you for that. So that happened this last month in October. And then really the big thing that OCA has been working on this past month is, as you are aware, the Supreme Court in September issued or finalized the adoption of the new rules of procedure related to local rules and how they're adopted now. As you all know, in the past, those had to go through this process the Supreme Court approved. And now judges can pretty much do their own, as long as they're consistent with the law and the procedures, et cetera. But in order for them to be effective, they don't send them to the court. They're going to have to post them on a website maintained by OCA. So last month, we were feverishly putting all that together, and it went live November 1 for court staff. And it can be your court clerks, clerk staff, judges, their staff, whoever wants to do that, to upload. It's not just their local rules, it's local rules, standing orders, and any forms. In order for them to be effective, starting January 1, they have to be up on the website. So we've put it up, got 2 months for everybody to get on board, and then January 1, it'll be public facing and people can come on. It may sound a little daunting, but the system, what we did is we have just added on to the system that OCA already has for the online citation by publication and for the protective order registry, where court clerks are already having to upload stuff. So they're very familiar. Almost everybody's already a registered user for that purpose. So really, it's just kind of bringing on maybe some of the justice of the peace courts that haven't been using this. And then if court staff like coordinators or court administrators want to get involved, then we'll need to get them an email. But there's lots of people locally who know how to do it. So that really is the big one for us this past month. And then that's all I have.
So any questions for Mena about the new process for local rules or standing orders? Or anything else?
Yeah, I just was wondering, so it's once it goes live public, it's going to be kind of searchable by county or by court? How is it going to be organized?
Yes, it's going to be searchable by county, and then at the county level, it's going to be searchable by court level, and then by court level, it's going to be searchable by orders, forms, standing, everything. And it'll all be done locally. They'll be able to update, remove as needed. And we'll keep a history, so they'll be archived in the event there's some sort of a, question about what was in effect at any given time. And I did forget to mention that we are having training for if people want to come on. If you go to our website, if you go to the txcourts.gov website, there's a tab that's called Rules and Standards. If you click on that below, there's already a page now for local rules. And on there is a place for people to register for webinars. We're going to have 3 starting next Thursday, and then the following Thursday right before Thanksgiving, and then the first Thursday in December. And then one of them is going to be recorded, and we're also going to have that on our website. So hopefully with all that training and we can get everyone on board.
Okay, that's a critical piece of information. If I were trying to upload local rules or standing orders, I would not know where to begin. So the training is going to be important. It sounds like there are lots of options for that. So thank you for making that easy for people with sometimes inflexible schedules to get that training.
Yeah, and we went ahead, we've blasted everybody, all the training centers through our big email blast, but if any of you know people, spread the word. I have found it sounds like a lot of people are not aware of this, so just want to make sure we get the word out.
Mena, are you sort of supporting the email? I know there's been a mass email distribution, but for maybe people who don't read every single email that comes in their box, is there also going to be sort of publication of the news through local, administrative judge, or how else are you getting the word out? This is, I think people would be really surprised on January 1 if they learned this and did not know it was coming.
Well, the only emails, we sent it to all the emails of all the judges. You know how we communicated with everybody during COVID? We sent it through that. But we also sent information to the Texas Center for the Judiciary, the Texas Association of Counties, the Justice Court Training Center as well. It's also been posted on the district and county clerks listserv. So I'm not really familiar. Pretty much if we knew a way to get it out, it's been sent. So I'm hoping that we caught everybody, but you know how it is. So they're going to get an email from us, and they're also going to get an email from Mark Atkinson, and hopefully they'll open one of them.
Okay, well, thank you. If any other questions for Mena? Okay. Well, thank you, Mena, for the update and for being with us this morning. I'll move now to the next item on the agenda, which is the DFPS update. We have today Erica Banuelos and Sasha Rasco with us. And so I don't know which order you'd like to present in, but I'd invite each of you to go ahead and let us know the DFPS updates.
Good morning. I know that Erica was like triple booked and she's going to hop on as soon as she can. So unless I don't see her online. So I'll take the lead and then hopefully she'll join us. And maybe if she doesn't, maybe she can give an update when she does join, because I think we might be a bit ahead of schedule, perhaps, from what she's anticipating. So I was going to talk about a few things, some home visiting initiatives for our pregnant parenting foster youth, and some additional potential funding coming to the state. And then my part of House Bill 3041 updates was what I was going to give. And so I don't know how familiar the commission is with the concept of home visiting. I know the term is obviously somewhat self-descriptive, but also applies to a lot of what CPS does in terms of visiting homes. But in the prevention world, it refers to a set of parenting supports. So I think everybody sort of knows about parenting classes. Home visiting is much more about the professional, the paraprofessional or the professional visiting the home using a very specific curricula and doing a lot more one-on-one interaction and coaching and assessment, both of the children and the child and the home. And in PEI, we obviously mostly fund this work to work upstream from child protection and prevent abuse and neglect from ever occurring, and or promote school readiness or maternal and child health outcomes, as well as a lot of effort, particularly in nurse-family partnership, with making sure the child gets to pediatrics or the mother gets her needs met. And there's and so these services are not, they're available. They're available across the continuum. There's not a prohibition from families who are involved in child protection from receiving these services. We do ask our providers to try to provide the primarily families outside of child protection, or at least to get referrals from more general referral sources like WIC or pediatrics. I mention all this to say I think we're trying to build out capacity for this type of service for more of our child and welfare involved families. And so we're doing that in a couple of ways, particularly for our pregnant and parenting foster youth. We have always had programs for them, home visiting programs for them as a parent. We realize they have a lot of needs beyond being supported as a parent, because they are also youth themselves, and they have behavioral health needs and educational needs and everything a kiddo would need. But in terms of preparing them and supporting them for parenting, we do have these curricula available for them. They had been delivered by evidence-based programs, but programs that were not on the FFPSA clearinghouse. Pregnant and parenting foster youth are a pre-designated candidacy for matching. So the state does put around $1.6 million of state funds into these programs for pregnant parenting foster youth, and those are eligible for drawdowns from the feds to potentially double the money. So in order to do that, we have been busy converting this capacity for home visiting to the evidence-based programs that are on the clearinghouse. And we now have a specific extra capacity for up to 176 pregnant parenting foster youth, which is way more than we need, but in our HOPES providers, so providing either the Parents as Teachers curriculum or the Safe Care curriculum, if anybody's familiar with either of those. Parents as Teachers is much more long-term. They're sort of like, we're here with you as a parent until your child ages 5, but Safe Care is really built for family preservation, which doesn't necessarily fit our youth per se, but it's much more 16 weeks in and out, very specific safety related parenting instruction. So it's a little bit more concrete and direct. And so I wanted you to know that capacity was available for any pregnant parenting youth. And we also want those services to be available to our aged out youth. And that is a little bit harder, obviously, to serve once they're out of the system, but those services are there for them too, for those youth that are pregnant and parenting. It's also available for fathers who are parenting or expecting in our foster youth system, which we think is a population that often goes unserved, and also because we may not know, but we're in the prevention world, we're really big on also supporting dads, even if they're not in custody of their kids, because they're going to be a big part of their lives. So we wanted you to know about that capacity. We realize it is hard to identify and serve these kiddos. They're often very busy, and it is voluntary. Their participation in this program, at least from our angle, is voluntary. Of course, obviously there can be other ways to make it a requirement or part of their service plan. So that is in motion. And then also on the subject of home visiting, one of our biggest sources of funding for home visiting programs around the state, again, across the continuum from pre-child welfare to even system involved parents, is a federal funding source. It's really long. It's called the Maternal Infant Early Childhood Home Visiting Program. It's just MCV is how we shorten it. And there is reauthorization at the U.S. Congress in motion that could potentially really increase the amount of funding Texas gets, particularly because of our child population. So in the next, if it's already passed the House and it's with the Senate, and that could really also increase our funding for that support. So again, when it comes to family preservation cases, just anything we can do to sort of boost your awareness or your understanding of who are providing those services in your community, in case you think that they're a meaningful set of supports. And we will obviously be working to figure out how we can use FFPSA, which funds home visiting as well. It's what they put it in that in-home parenting supports category, but we do have other ways of funding that continuum and continue to grow it. And we also sort of, we nurture it and take care of it, much like our foster care, our part of our agency that sort of grows our foster care capacity, PEI we are the if not the only, but the primary funder, and it's a growing kind of specialized service. And we do all the professional development And we want to, and I think they would be interested in also knowing how to best work within the child welfare system as well. And many, just this is the last note, I mean, many of these home visitors are former CPS workers. There's quite a lot of overlap. So that was one update I wanted to give, just about kind of some growing capacity and specific capacity for our pregnant and parenting youth. And I'll stop and see if there's any questions about that. No. Okay. And also around our pregnant parenting use, we've learned that there's such a complex and difficult population to attract to services, and that it's also hard to set up capacity because we never know where they'll be in the state. It's a little bit like, or I liken it to a certain extent to serving our youth with eating disorders. When we need it, we really need it, but we can't predict where we'll need it on any given day. And it can be hard to find that really specialized capacity when we do. And so we're also investing in a position and in more convenings and the building out of expertise just in all of our service sectors around best practices for serving that very vulnerable population. So the other update I had was around, I mean, and it's just, I hope you don't have too many questions about it because they're around House Bill 3041. I don't know as much about what I think you all are interested in, which is around the introduction of families to you and the court orders. But what I can tell you is we have had a few referrals for To Engage, and St. Francis have received a few referrals. All CPI staff have been trained now on the Texas Family First pilot and sort of the identification of those families. And so we've sort of, I think we're past the soft launch. We are now sort of in action. I know that Belong and ACH in 8B and 3 West are kind of a little bit behind getting stood up, but we're sort of moving along. I probably spend an inordinate amount of time answering questions about FFPSA and these pilots, so I'm sure you may too, given the small nature of them compared to the rest of everything we all might have on our plates. But they're of huge interest. I can also say our federal commissioner, Schramberg, did reach out to Commissioner Masters, I think last week, just to say it was friendly, but just sort of, now where is Texas with its prevention plan for FFPSA and anything we can do at the federal level to help? So we know that ACF is making kind of calls to all 20. We're not alone. I think there's like 21 states that haven't yet submitted a prevention plan, but House Bill 3041 is our big effort to getting toward that, in addition to potentially submitting one for the pregnant parenting foster youth population that I just mentioned. But I just wanted to touch on that, give a brief overview from our perspective, at least from the provision of services to that population, and see if either Erica has joined or if anybody has any questions or anything to add, because there's some folks on this call who are more involved in House Bill 3041 than I am.
Any questions of Sasha?
I see Jocelyn has raised her hand.
Yeah, I actually had a question about the pregnant and parenting program, just kind of thinking through how, because it is only kids that are in foster care.
They can be in care or they can be aged out, and it's up till age 25.
So our kids that are in care, it sounds like you guys are working on identifying how to identify and loop them into the program. Is there ways that the court is already a part of that or can be a part of that in any particular areas?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what we do to identify is two things. One, we just try to spread the word to our child placing agencies and foster care providers that the service is available, which is an effort, particularly with turnover, continual effort to sort of it's what we do in prevention all the time. It's half of the hard job is making sure folks are aware of the service and know how to access it. So there is that effort. But then we do also we get data from Superior about any billing codes for pregnancy related billing for our youth. and then reach out and offer them the service. They're not very fond of that. It is not, we have not found it to be the best way to introduce the service to a youth. They're like, how did you know? They might not have told anyone else. And so it's not popular and not terribly effective. So we'd prefer not to use that, but we haven't yet. And obviously the other thing we do is let our caseworkers know that the service is available too. But as you can imagine, similarly with turnover and with the fact that any one caseworker may only have such a case every once in a while, it's a hard thing to create systemic awareness of this service delivery because it is such a small population. So we're both open to suggestions and happy to support the courts referring youth in any way that makes sense.
Well, thank you for that. And I think that Erica has not been able to join us yet, which makes sense given that we are a little ahead of schedule. But since we are, I wanted to mention that Corliss Lawson, the Deputy Commissioner, and Jim Sylvester, Associate Commissioner for Investigations, have joined us today from DFPS. And so I wanted to invite each or either of you to offer some thoughts or anything in the way of an update if you would like to do so.
Yes, good morning. I was going to give you an update of where we are in our compliance measures with the federal court litigation. So this calendar year, 2022, we received reports 3 and 4. And we're continuing to show improvements. On remedial order 2, the monitors found that 98% of DFPS newly hired caseworkers conform to the graduated caseload standard of 14 to 17 children. On remedial order 35, 74% of all staff who provide primary case management services to children in the PMC class conform to the graduated caseload standard as well. Remedial order 3, 86% of the 227 investigations that were reviewed and analyzed by the monitors established that RCCI had appropriately ruled out all of the allegations. On remedial order 4, 98% of caseworkers completed the sexual abuse training. Remedial order 7, DFPS initiated 81% of priority 1 investigations within 24 hours by making face-to-face contact with all alleged victims. On remedial order 8, DFPS initiated 88% of priority 2 investigations within 72 hours by making face-to-face contact with all alleged victims. On remedial order 9, DFPS appropriately documented and reported to the monitors 95% of investigations that were not initiated on time and had approved extensions. On remedial order 24, they found that 100% of the child records reviewed had all confirmed allegations of sexual aggression in which the child was the victim. Remedial order 29, 91% of the child records with a sexual aggression indicator had all sexual aggression history documented on the common application. The common application is a document that is required to be given to all caregivers to let them know about the child's sexual aggression history. Remedial order A7, DFPS had complied with the court's order to cease placing children in placements with more than 6 youth when there is no continuous 24-hour awake night supervision. Remedial order A8, DFPS has improved in its provision of updates and verification to the monitors of the state's provision of the 24-hour awake night supervision when there are more than 6 children in one home or operation. So in each of these areas, this was improvement over the last time the monitors had reviewed these particular remedial orders. Our next hearing will be January 27th, 2023, and the monitors will be looking at demographics, graduated caseloads for both legacy and the SSCCs, statewide intake statistics, RCCI investigations, the and child fatalities. Our next hearing after January will be June 2023. That concludes my report unless there are any questions.
Thank you for that. Any questions about it? Okay, how about Jim Sylvester? Jim, would you like to share anything at this point?
We can't hear you, Jim. I know Marta Talbert's also on the Zoom box with us. Marta, I'm not sure if you had any updates on behalf of CPI.
And I'm sorry, my video is not working. So Jim and I are having problems this morning, if you can't tell. So I apologize. But no, I'm not exactly sure what he was planning on speaking about, but I'm trying to text with him to see if there's anything he wants me to give an update on.
Hey, Jamie,
Okay,
I was just going to chime in. One thing I had spoken with Jim about after attending the conference was I heard a lot of complaints about the quality of our affidavits. And Jim has put together a training that they're going to be conducting with our investigations on the affidavits. I've heard since the standard has changed that the quality of the affidavits has not been the same. And so we're going to address that.
Yes, we've actually rolled it out in a couple of the counties, and then we're just scheduling now across the state of Texas to complete the affidavit training for all caseworkers and all supervisors.
all right, great. Jamie, why don't I hand it to you? And then if we need be, we can come back to Erica or Jim at a later spot in the meeting if they want to have something to add to the group.
Great, thank you. And I did just want to make one comment about something Sasha said, that I had the good fortune on Wednesday to go observe Judge David Barkley's court and the 8th Region South Child Protection Court. And he did, to my knowledge, the first 3041 14-day hearing. And some circumstances came to light right before the hearing. And I can say with certainty that but for the pilot, there might have been an application for removal of children. And so that's, to my understanding, exactly what the pilot was designed for, was to have intensive services provided to the family to maintain them together. So I appreciate him. I just wanted to give him a shout out if he's out there in the internet, but also I know it's been a tremendous amount of work on behalf of all the divisions of DFPS to put the pilot together. So I'm encouraged to see that it's already starting to show promise. And I will just kick off very briefly the Children's Commission staff project updates, and we're going to keep it brief today. We gave a pretty comprehensive report in September. For those who aren't aware, you've heard a couple of folks allude to it, but we did have our annual Child Welfare Judges Conference, and it's very hard to believe that that was last week. But it was a great conference, a wonderful learning and an opportunity for connection. And it was so great to be together again after 3 years apart and in the virtual space. And I also want to mention, if you're not already aware, we do update the Child Protection Bench Book. We rebranded it Child Welfare Law Bench Book. This year, we're kind of changing all our terminology in that regard. But the 2022 updates are now released. It's available online through a downloadable PDF or an interactive app called Lawbox. And folks can also access that on their mobile devices. And I really encourage you all to take a look. We take non-legislative years to reorganize and add new content. And so we think it's in great shape this year and hope everybody finds it useful. So we have a couple of things we wanted to share with you since we last met in September. And one is an update from Dylan about some Youth Voice video and webcast projects, and then we'll hear from Renee about the DFPS toolkit. So I will turn it over to Dylan.
Thank you, Jamie. I wanted to update the committee on the Youth Voice video project that we've been working on. It was almost ready at the time of our last commission meeting, but it's now been complete. And this video is part of a series of projects that the Legal Representation Committee has been working on to help parents and children better understand the attorney-client relationship. Last year, we released our coloring book that was targeted towards younger children, helping them understand the attorney-client relationship. And this video is targeted towards older children to help them understand what their attorney can do for them. It was a product of a collaboration with the Texas Network of Youth Services Young Adult Leadership Council. Those youth were integral to the project. They were included on drafting the script that was used. They were also able to share their own experiences about their attorneys on the video, and they really shaped the direction of the project as well, particularly the second half of the video that explains what youth can do to resolve issues with their lawyers. That was something that was very important to the youth we talked about, and we sort of added that second part in response to their feedback. We've received a lot of positive feedback from it so far, and we really want as many youth to be able to access it as possible. And I really want to thank all of our collaborative partners who have really embraced this video and helped us raise awareness of it. And Monica, I think we were able to share the part 1 of the video. So if everyone, it does start quietly, so there's nothing wrong with your volume. If you don't hear anything for about 20 to 30 seconds, the audio will kick in. So Monica, we can go ahead and share the video.
As a client, you should know that your lawyer works for you. Your lawyer has to know the law. Your lawyer has to know the facts about your case. And your lawyer has to fight for what you want, not what CPS, your family, or anyone else wants. I spoke up about when I wanted to study abroad, and my lawyer helped me make it happen. You can ask for whatever you want, and your lawyer has to work as hard as they can to get it for you.
Sometimes I didn't feel like my attorney was best advocating for me. There was times where I felt that she should have explained stuff to me that I just didn't get clarity on. And there's also things that I had to figure out for myself, or things that I had to ask about as I got older, or as I wanted to be more in depth with my case. I didn't really have that much communication with her directly until I got older. I do wish that they would have included me more on my court casing things, like when it's gonna be, like scheduling, planning wise.
As a client, you should know that your lawyer has to meet with you before each court hearing. Your lawyer has to respond when you call or message them. Your lawyer has to explain things in a way that you can understand. It's okay to ask as many questions as you need to. Also, your lawyer has to offer their advice, which means telling you what is legally possible in your case, what they think the judge will do, what they think might happen if you make certain choices. Remind your lawyer of these things if your situation is not ideal, so you can get the help that you need.
My name is Michelle Cummings. I'm a former foster youth and an attorney who currently represents youth that are in foster care. One of the most important aspects of your relationship with your attorney is confidentiality. And what confidentiality means is that all the conversations that you have with your attorney has to keep those private. Now, there are some exceptions to that, and some of those include if you are talking about harming yourself or harming someone else, or if you know of someone else that's being hurt, or if you intend to go commit a crime and tell your attorney that. Those are things that your attorney has to tell someone else without your permission.
Confidentiality protects you and allows you to control what information your lawyer shares so that you can feel safe telling your lawyer the truth, even if the truth is painful or embarrassing to share. Your lawyer needs to know the truth so they can give you good advice and know the best ways to advocate for you. Your lawyer owes you advocacy. Your lawyer owes you communication. Your lawyer owes you confidentiality because your lawyer works for you. If your lawyer isn't doing the things they owe you, there are steps you can take. Click on the next video to find out more.
Thank you, Monica. And so we're really hoping that this video reaches as many youth as possible. So if anybody has any questions about that or is interested in helping to promote it, please feel reach out to me or the Children's Commission about what we can do to help promote this video. We also wanted to let everyone know that we now have a webinar that we did on October 20th is now available online. This was a webinar that was moderated by Judge Delia Gonzalez and Professor Lori Duke from the UT Children's Rights Clinic, featuring 3 panelists with lived experience, Leroy Barones Soto, Ryan Harris, and Betty Vajika. The point of this webinar was to have youth give their own experiences about what judges and lawyers can do to make the experience of attending court a positive experience for youth. And I thought the youth did an incredible job of sort of very bravely sharing their experiences and really sort of helping people learn from what happened to them to make every youth experience going to court a better experience. We had 272 people attend the webinar live, and it's now available to view for free on the Children's webpage. And we really hope as many judges and attorneys see that, because I just want to echo what Judge Hufstadler said earlier. The experience of working on both of these projects with the youth from lived experience taught me so much, and I think taught everybody who worked on these projects a lot. Even when you think you may be an expert, and even when you think you may know things, we always learn new things from those people who have lived experience in the system, and I think they're incredibly valuable. And so that concludes my update, and I'll pass it over to Renee to talk about the new DFPS representation toolkit.
Thank you, Dylan. I don't have a wonderful video to show, but I did want to let you all know that last time we met, we did say that we were coming very close to having our toolkit for attorneys representing DFPS and child welfare cases ready for publication. And that update and publication is now complete. It is available for PDF download on the Commission's website, and that became available on October 14th. We would like to thank our Legal Practice and Process DFPS Representation Subcommittee for sharing their expertise and their time to editing and contributing all the content for this update. Additionally, I want to express our gratitude to DFPS and the Texas District and County Attorneys Association for their continued support of this resource. This resource complements the toolkit for attorneys representing parents and children in child welfare cases that was made available back in March of this year. The updated 22 toolkit includes best practice suggestions, changes that were made in the 87th legislative session, and includes a lot of new sections, including sections on jurisdiction, venue and transfer, service of citation and notice, interventions, alternatives to removal, court-ordered services, reinstatement of parental rights, the Families First Prevention Services Act, and a new addition of common abbreviations and acronyms in child welfare cases that prosecutors may need to know. The toolkit also contains essential legal basics and topical chapters. So we include things on reasonable efforts, findings, placements, visitation, and supporting older youth in care. We are going to have a limited run of 250 to 300 hard copies of the toolkit published, and we will have an interactive version of the toolkit made available on LawBox. We will collaborate with TDCAA and DFPS on the best times for distribution for those hard copies of the toolkit. And one data piece that we'll be working with TDCAA to start collecting is the number of assistant district attorneys and assistant county attorneys that actually prosecute and represent DFPS in these child welfare cases, so that we have a better idea of what the need for those hard copy numbers are in future orders. And that's all for my update on the toolkit.
Thank you, Renee. Jim, did you want to take one more try? Is there anything you wanted to share? Oh, still can't hear you, unfortunately.
Okay, he cannot, I can't show my video and you can't hear him, but he did send me a text to kind of update you all on human trafficking. And so from fiscal year 20 to 22, the small team of ours at CPI has trained in excess of 43,000 internal and external partners on human trafficking related topics. We also hosted the 3rd annual Human Trafficking Summit, and that had about 1,200 staff and partners attending during that time frame. And then, of course, we are continuing to send out training to our staff, our CPI and CPS staff within the agency. And we're working on right now continuing to improve the data collection on victimization.
Thank you, Marta. And Justice Huddle, I see Erica has now joined us, but we just have to bring her on screen, and that'll take only a moment.
Erica, did you say Erica has joined us, Jamie?
Yes, I believe so.
I think she joined as an attendant, and yeah, so I think that they'll probably make her a panelist. So she may not be able to speak yet.
She's here.
Okay, I'm here.
Oh, there she is.
I'm here. I was like, I'm so confused. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just my video won't it won't work, but my mic is working. So
well, wonderful. Glad you could join us, and you have the stage. So we're ready for your update. We got a little ahead of schedule, and Sasha has given us hers. We've also heard from your other colleagues. So if you are ready, please go ahead with your update, Erica. Thank you for being here.
yes, good morning, everyone. Hopefully I don't repeat anything that my other colleagues said, but just some quick updates on the CPS side. One is, I know that we had some conversation about HB 3041, and we had some conversations around the concern on the number of FBSS families being served. And so I just wanted to update everyone that, we have issued a memo to change some of our practices around not so much the policy, but really a practice in terms of how we work with families, especially at the initiation of a case. So we will at least try for 60 days or more to engage a family who's just saying, I will not participate with you, and really trying to make extra efforts to see if we can engage them so that they can receive the services that they need. And then the other big piece of that change is also, we are also going to continue to be engaged with families who say, well, I'm already working with a community resource. We really want the FBSS staff to further engage the family and the community resource, one, to ensure that they're actually going to those community resources, but also to help identify any other community resources that might be able to help them. And that also gives us a longer period of time to further assess the family for any other services that FBSS can provide. So those are two big changes for us that we just started, and we'll be monitoring sort of the data to see if it's increasing the number of families that we're serving and if it's making a difference. So we're going to probably, we're going to evaluate it month to month, but we'll be able to look at something more specific probably every quarter. So I just wanted to update you all on that. And then just very briefly, I wanted to talk about two things that we, when I took over as a CPS Associate Commissioner, one of my duties is to review placements, facility placements, foster home placements, and really look at the history of how the operation is doing. And I ultimately have to make the decision whether or not to put a placement on hold, where we as an agency say we can no longer place children in this facility at this time for a given reason. And I just wanted to share a little bit of background, because I know that oftentimes workers go to court and, they'll say, we can't place here because they're on a placement hold. And I don't know that everyone understands what goes into me being able to approve that. But basically, we look at the history of the operation or the foster home. We look at the number of kids that are currently placed at that facility. We look at what are the needs of the children in the facility. What are the number of citations that the facility has? Is there an open investigation where we are so concerned that we can no longer place kids there for a given amount of time? And so I just wanted to provide that information to let everyone know that when I issue a placement hold, it's because we have some concerns in that facility, and we've put measures into place to ensure that kids are safe. But adding any additional kids, sometimes we get court ordered to add kids into these operations, even though we've said we've issued the placement hold, can really jeopardize the safety of other kids. Because when we issue the placement hold, like I said, we have a plan in place for the current kids that are there, and adding any additional kids could really jeopardize the safety of everyone there. So that's on the facility foster home. So if you hear there's a placement hold and we can't place, that's really what it's talking about. And then the other one, just very quickly, is we are doing something called the disallowance of foster homes. That's another thing that I have to approve and look at. And when we do a disallowance, and when a judge in a courtroom is hearing, we have to take these kids out because they're either issuing a disallowance or there's new allegations, some serious allegations of abuse and neglect. First of all, when we do a disallowance of a foster home, that means that that home will never be able to come back and be a foster home provider for any agency, no matter what the CPA they're working with. They will be entered as not being allowed. And in order to be on that list, that means that abuse and neglect has taken place. That means that we have some severe safety concerns for children placed in that home. And just like the placement hold for facilities, I want to assure the courts that we work really hard with our CPAs to ensure that we're giving the right support to them and that we're trying to salvage homes even before they get to that place. So I say that because we also get placements court ordered into some of these foster homes that we either have already reason to believe for some type of abuse or neglect, and or they've made it into our disallowance list. And again, when we're saying that a home is disallowed, or that we're asking all children to be moved because there's a serious incident of abuse or neglect, or a caregiver has been reason to believe, it really does put them at further risk if we leave children in the home and we don't take action to take them out of the home. So those are just my 3 quick updates.
So are there any questions for Erica on any of that? Yes, we have a question, Judge Huffstetler.
Yeah, I'm interested. You might not have the information yet, but historically, when CPS knocked on the door and said, "Hi, I'm CPS, we're here to help," they got a slam door in their face. But now with the prevention idea, is that idea of prevention getting out to the public such that they don't just slam their door when CPS says, "Hi, we're here to help"? But
Correct.
generally they are.
Yes, Judge. And I think that is one of the things that when we issued that memorandum, really it's to address some of that, because what in all transparency, what we were seeing is that some workers, not all, but some would go out there and say, you know, this program is voluntary. You can either choose to do it or not to do it. Well, of course, families are like, okay, well, I'm not going to do it, right? Mm-hmm. Knowing very well that these families really do need services because we're only referring the very high risk cases over to family base. And so that's the purpose of what we're asking the FBSS workers to do, is not to just turn around and say, okay, well, the family doesn't want to work, now take them to court, or the family doesn't want to work, let's just close the case. We really need them to engage the family and explain what it is that we're trying to do. And most importantly, what it is that we're trying to avoid, right? Because the reality is, if you have a very high risk family, that might lead into a removal. And I always tell my FBSS staff that they have a very unique opportunity to prevent children from coming into foster care, but we have to walk alongside the family to help them be able to achieve, good outcomes for their families. And so it goes back to the point that you're saying, we can't just be going out there and saying, would you like to participate? It's voluntary. Of course, they don't want to, but so we're going to work on that because we see that that's an important piece to this.
Right. And I know we've seen the studies out of New York where they're involved early on, where it can prevent those from ever being a placement. But I just wondered if you had any input yet on what people's perception of CPS, it really there to help, not just trying to come in and take your kids. So
absolutely. And that was why we created concurrent stages. That's what concurrent stages was supposed to do. We were supposed to be able to, investigations should be able to refer a family to us pretty early on in the investigation, instead of having to wait for 30 or 60 days for that investigation to finish. They're supposed to refer out pretty early on, and we are to engage the family as soon as possible.
good. Thank you.
Judge Stuckey.
Thank you, Erica. This is just Thomas Stuckey. I had questions. Thank you for the explanation of kind of the placement hold, but I guess my question is, what is the interplay between placement holds and this idea of heightened monitoring that we've all heard about? If you just could kind of explain what is heightened monitoring, and is that the same as a placement hold, or, what is it that the department's doing?
Yeah, that's a great question, because so heightened monitoring is completely different from a placement hold. When an operation or a CPA gets placed on heightened monitoring, they're looking at a 5-year history review of that operation, and they're looking at a different sort of criteria than what we look at when we do a placement hold. That we have people that go on placement holds that are not on heightened monitoring. We have foster homes that we disallowed that their CPA is not on heightened monitoring. Those are two total separate things that are happening. And the difference between both is that an operation can be on heightened monitoring, and it doesn't rise to the level of the threshold where we feel like putting another child in that home or in that operation is going to impact the safety of all the other kids. And same thing for the disallowance of a foster home, that has nothing. We really look at the history of the home or the operation. Currently, we look at open investigations. We look at the history of the placements in that home. And we do a thorough review of all of that. And that's what we take into consideration when I finally say, yes, I'm approving this home to go on a placement hold. So two total separate things happening. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you. I just, I guess as a part of the federal litigation, we've all kind of heard this concept of heightened monitoring, but, we all, or at least I thought, I didn't really know the difference between some of these things, how you got on, how you got off of these things. So thank you for the explanation.
Yes, absolutely.
Any other questions for Erica?
I think Paula.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, yes. Hi, Paula.
My hand is almost my skin tone. That's okay. We're good. Erica, first of all, thank you. My name is Paula Bibb Samuels, and I'm rolling off, but I do have a question. You mentioned how, I guess, sometimes you put placement holds on and then the judge's order. I'm so sorry. The judge's order a placement there. Is there not any type of communication or literature that the judges can receive to know why these things are placed, like your criteria for putting something on a placement hold? Because I personally, because the judges that I've encountered, I feel like are great people, some of them, But no, but what I'm saying is that I don't think, like, if they knew why this, like the criteria that you all had to put it on a placement hold, I don't believe that they would actually order a placement in those placements, in those residential places. I guess I don't know how to end that sentence. So is there communication between your office and, you know, the judges to say this is why we do this, so that they don't continue to do orders to place?
Yes, that's a really good question. So, you know, we provide, when we do a placement hold, typically we send out something, and the caseworker that's in court or the supervisor should be able to articulate to the judge, you know, sort of why. But I know that sometimes, you know, they have a lot going on, and they have a difficult time. I like your idea of maybe sharing with you all what that criteria looks like, so that you know. And then for the foster homes where there's either an RTB or such a serious allegation of abuse and neglect, where we're having to move children out, in some jurisdictions, we can't move them out until we speak with the judge, depending on the court order. And really what we do in those circumstances is typically we either provide the court with the information about these are the safety concerns, this is why we have to move them out. And sometimes, you know, that gets denied. So my hope is that they are articulating to the judge exactly what are the safety concerns and why are we having to move the children out. And honestly, it's not just about, I don't want to say that it's just a judge who's is doing the placement, but we have CASA, we have ad litems, we have, you know, we have all these different parties that are making the decision alongside of the judge, right? And the judge gets to hear from everybody. And so this is really not just about the courts, but it's also about the other external people that we work with that also sometimes advocate for the children to remain in a home where we're saying, like, this person is RTB'd for physical abuse or whatever it may be. And so, but I think you bring up a really good point. You know, communication and information is powerful. And I don't know that we've spoken a lot about what a placement hold means and what it means to have a home be on the disallowance list. And so that really is a great point. And I think that we should, we'll work on something from state office in terms of better explaining what it means. You know, how does somebody get on this? As Judge Stuckey said, you know, I think there's a confusion that maybe it's the same thing as heightened monitoring. And so they're like, but no, it's a completely different thing. So we will work on that and we will try to put something together.
Thank you for that. And then, oh, go ahead.
Please go ahead, Paula.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I was gonna say thank you for that particular answer. And then I also wanted to just bring focus. When you all sign orders, make suggestions to remove children from families, you all don't place orders saying send them back if we still have that reason to believe. And if it's that important for me as an individual parent not to be able to have, say, another child in my home because of previous history or RTB or what have you, then it should be important not to place children in any other placement that has a RTB or anything else. We have to have the same value and concern for safety across the board. That's a statement, that was not a question. But now I'm gonna go to my second question, and with the volunteer service. You had mentioned, and I may have misheard, but I know you said sometimes they go in and they say the service is voluntary, and then families say, well, we don't want to do it. And then it's almost as if it's dropped. And I do understand that, because as a parent, we don't want to do anything else. We normally are required to do quite a bit in the first place. My thought is, if it's voluntary, but there are consequences for not engaging, please ensure that the families are aware of those consequences. Because sometimes if all we hear is voluntary, well, then I don't have to do it. But if there are negative consequences to me not engaging in whatever service that you all are offering, give me that option. Tell me, okay, but if you don't, this is what could happen. We still get to make the decision, but at least we are more informed on the decision that we are making. So those were my comments.
No,
and my questions.
yeah,
Thank you.
no, thank you. No, that is absolutely true. And that's why we've issued some direction to staff on, you know, it is such an important piece of, there's some dire consequences sometimes for families and children, and we need to be upfront with that, and we need to be transparent. And really, we shouldn't say it's voluntary or not voluntary. We should be about, what is it that I can do to help you, right? How can we help you so that we don't have to get involved with your family in 3 months or 6 months or a year from now, right? And so for me, that shouldn't even be a part of the conversation. It should be about, how can we serve you and your family? What is it that we can do to help you? Because this is what we're seeing as being an issue or a concern right now. And if that worry isn't addressed, then it might lead to this. Really, it's about the conversation, and it's about how we engage. And we're going to be doing some work around that. But thank you for your comments. They're very accurate. Thank you.
So great questions, Paula and Judge Stuckey. And I just, anyone else is free to ask one, but just before we go on to the next agenda, I want to say that it's really inspiring and I think so valuable. Today's an example of the value of this very kind of convening of experts, because we have these meaningful conversations where we have, DFPS on the one side to come to explain, and then immediately in real time, other experts on the line saying, well, what about this? And you need to do it in this particular way. And so I think that sort of demonstrates why we're all here, to try to make improvements in communication and just all around the process. So this has been really valuable and great to hear. So thank you for those contributions all around.
Justice Tuttle, I think Sandra might have gone off mute.
Sandra, question?
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, well, I guess my question might be more of a comment. Every time we get a new name for something, it always messes up communication. I hear the judge saying, well, I don't know the difference between when it's on hold or it's heightened monitoring. And, what I'm seeing a lot happening in court is they'll refer to the language that you're talking about, and they won't explain it. They'll just say, well, that one's on hold, and it just kind of leaves it at that. That's why the judges are kind of left without understanding. And I think, so my comment is, I think if you're going to do your trainings for the caseworkers, you need to, let them know that these terminologies that y'all use are really for convenience, and they're not a substitution for the facts, and that they need to be aware that when they go into court, they can't use that phrase. They need to talk about what is underneath that phrase. Like I think, like if a foster home is on hold for whatever reason or whatever, don't say that phrase. That just describes something for y'all's convenience. That's just my comment.
No, I would agree that it's not, yes, I agree that we need to do a way better job in court of explaining it thoroughly and putting the facts on the table instead of just using, we tend to use a lot of acronyms, and, other people don't know what they mean. And so thank you for that feedback. I will definitely share that back with the regional directors. Thank you.
Last call for questions. Really, it's not last call because we always welcome more questions. The last call before I turn it over to Jamie. All right. I'm sorry, Jamie, you're welcome to comment if you would like to, but in fact, I see Justice Lehrman has the next agenda item.
Yes, I'll pass it to Justice Lehrman.
Justice Lehrman.
Thank you so much, Justice Huddle. So really, we're just winding things up. And so does anybody have anything that you want to bring up, any new business, anything that we need to visit about before we go our separate ways for today?
I did want to mention one thing. we are going to be sending out a notification to the members of the Child Protection Law section, Family Law section, and through other venues about different positions that are going to be coming open in the Child Protection Law section. And I just wanted to let y'all know about it because you may know someone in your community that wants to get more involved. And I just would like you to be looking for that, and also, talking with other members that would benefit from getting involved. The second thing I wanted to mention to you was that we'll also be sending out an e-blast soon about an award that we'd like to give, our Ferry Rutland Award, which is we now call it our Rutland Advocacy and Excellence Award. That's going to be going out, and that's to go to someone in your community who you believe has done an outstanding job in the area of child protection law, and we'd love to honor them. So that's another area where I need people like you who are very much involved in the players to identify people and submit the names of people. I think even just submitting someone's name is such an honor. It really does give a person a boost to know that they're being recognized, that someone sees them as a passionate and caring individual in this area of law. So please, when you get the notification, please nominate or let people know about it so they can nominate. This really does help our industry to develop in a way that's very positive. So that's all.
Anyone else?
I just want to thank Justice Huddle and Justice Lerman for taking time out of their busy schedule to be here today and participate, organize the meeting, and any of the other judges that I know today's the last day of early voting, and I just commend them for sacrificing and being with us and continuing their leadership. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judge. Anybody else? Okay, well, I just want to remind everyone that of our next meetings. So they're all on Fridays. The next one is on Friday, February 10th. It'll be in person. Then we have a virtual meeting on Friday, May 12th of 2023. Another in-person meeting on September 15th of 23. And then our last meeting of the year will be virtual, and it'll be like this one today on November the 3rd of 2023. So is there anything else? If not, I want to thank everybody for your dedication, for your commitment to this very important area of the law. For those of you who are leaving, like I say, it's not goodbye, it's just farewell. And we certainly appreciate your service so very much. And for the new members, welcome aboard. We look forward to working with you. We look forward to hearing from you and to learn more about how we can help these families and children who are in such need. So thank you all very much and have a great weekend. Oh, and see you soon.